I think it's just
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of Council, Tuesday, March 28th at the Council Chambers. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inkakatma and the Seal people. I'm getting better at saying that every single time. Any public input? Thank you. 4.1, adoption of minutes, regular council meeting minutes, March 14th, 2023. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on March 14th, 2023 be adopted. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Charney. Any orders or omissions? Yeah. Holy smokes, here we go.
There was just a note in my verbal report about attending a search and rescue function, which was not the case, and I just wanted to be clear that somebody didn't think I was there when I was not.
Thank you. Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? The change will be made. Public hearing, none. General matters, delegations, recognitions. And I think we might want to wait a minute. Chief had to go out. Apparently, I'm trying to move this along very quickly because there's 2 calls right now. So we'll wait for Chief to come back here for a second, and then we'll move on to that. He was here a minute ago. So there he is. Excellent.
You live for drama, Chief. You know how this works.
Recognition of 30 years of service. Tonight we'll be honoring Fire Chief Dave Tompkinson and Deputy Fire Chief Daryl Finnegan, recognized for 30 years of service to the Merritt Fire and Rescue Service. Just a couple of quick things. I've been here a long time. The WEP program was fostered by our chief and has been a model of everything every time you go to UBCM. Matter of fact, the first time I went to UBCM, I said, Chief, I'm gonna really tell everybody about this. And you said, no, please don't do that. And it's become something that's been really well received and has worked wonders, and a lot of young men and women have moved on to careers, and that's your vision that you worked very hard for. And Deputy Chief, I know that, and the Chief, I know through the fires, through the floods, you were always there for us, and especially Chief, your house was flooded. So I know the time that you put in. I know the training. I see the training on Monday nights, and it's a dedicated crew. The crew works because they have good people that teach them and good people that follow and care about their people. So I think we're very lucky to have you both. I've known both of you a long time, and when I was a counselor and in between, and I'm just really proud to give you this award. Or this recognition. So I don't know when you get a recognition like this, if it's like retirement soon or not. I don't know how this goes, but 30 years is a long time to be dedicated to this. So I suggest we give these 2 all a round of applause, please.
So I've been honor bound to get a bunch of pictures.
Yes,
guys do. So, and if the family would like to,
yes,
you guys can call.
Please.
Get some pictures up.
I will call up Chief. You first, please. Come on up. Thank you, Worship. Thank you for everything. That's for you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
Come on up. Yes, come on.
It comes in waves.
It does. You gotta go down and cool things here.
I'm not sure how I feel about this hiding in the back.
You want me out of this picture?
No. I think you should come around to the side and sort of shake his hand while you're doing it.
Oh, sure.
It'll feel slightly less awkward. There you go. Not that I'm telling you what to do.
No,
You're my boss.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate it. Come on. You guys can dress like this a lot more.
Yeah.
Really. Right, here's one. That's okay, it's the most important one. How about I switch you around, you go on that side, you come on this side.
You got it down now.
Okay. I'm a slower.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, and if you have to mosey on because you got fires, we understand. So thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. 6.2, Merritt and District Chamber of Commerce. Margaret Hunter, Chair of the Merritt and District Chamber of Commerce, will present. You are up, Margaret. Hold it. I'll get you to push that little button in front of you there. Excellent.
There.
Thank you. You are up.
Hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm Margaret Honer, and I'm the chair of the Merritt and District Chamber of Commerce. I did send in, and hopefully you all received a little summary of the things that we've been doing. I'd also like to introduce my vice chair, Jeff Sterling. He's with Barkman Concrete. And just one of almost a full board that we have right now. We've got 10 directors, and as of our last AGM, and so we're doing really, really well. And that's really what I wanted to come, and it's been on my mind for 6 months or more, that I wanted to introduce the chamber to the new council, new mayor and council, although the mayor has been to a couple of our events, so that's been really great. And just let you know that, what the chamber does. We are the voice of the businesses of the valley. And, we advocate wherever we can for the businesses, so we seek input from them. And we advocate where we can, to make things better for business in this area. We've been working really hard. The chamber did go through a bit of a slump pre-COVID, and since COVID, we've been working really hard to bring ourselves back. And I think that we've done a fantastic job with a skeleton crew for the first couple of years, and where, we went from having approximately 30 businesses pre-COVID to be part of the chamber, and now we've got 60, and I believe that we will get up to about 75 in the next month or two. So we're on a roll. We've developed partnerships, which has been key, I believe, to our success over the last couple of years. So with NVIT, we had a really great partnership. It brought a lot of recognition, I think, to the chamber and and helped businesses in our town. Plus, it brought money into the chamber so that we could kind of right the ship, as you would say. It enabled us, several grants that we applied for. We were able to do different shop local events. We were able to do Quilchana markets and to really kind of step up our presence in the community. So kudos to the few people that kind of kept the chamber going over the last couple of years, and to the new board that has just stepped up. And I think that this year is going to be the best one in years, honestly. And I look forward to seeing us be very successful in the next few years. As you know, or don't know, Chambers of Commerce are a board of trade. We're a nonprofit, and the only funding that we receive is through memberships, through benefits plans that our members might partake in, or events that we might recoup a little bit more money than what we put out, or sponsorships or grants, things like that. So
We were very fortunate in the last couple of years to get some good grants, which made a real big difference. And this year we're proposing that we apply for the FIR grant from ETSI BC, so the Forestry Impact Recovery Grant. I think that we have proved over the last couple of years that even with a volunteer board and very little staff, we can produce and we can be successful and we can handle our money. And so I'd, really like to, ask council for their support in us applying for that grant. And I know that you applied for it previously in previous years, and the gal that you had doing the job was fantastic, and we had a very good relationship with her. But I would love for that role to come back to the chamber, and for the chamber to be more involved in driving the economic activities in the valley. So basically, that's why I'm here, to tell you we're doing well. And I would really like to be more involved, and I'd love to have your support in applying for that grant. And I didn't want to carry on. I was hoping you guys would have some questions for me. So,
Thank you very much, Margaret. It's kind of interesting. I was reading one paragraph here where it said the shop local Christmas collected nearly 4 pounds of entries in the form of receipt paper. Actually, there's a picture of me standing in the middle of that when I went to pick the names. I was blown away how big that pile was. It was crazy.
It was unbelievable, the response, and our businesses loved being part of that. It really drove business.
It was over $1 million.
Yeah.
It was over $1 million that got spent in this town by Show Up Local, and it was pretty cool for that to happen.
It is, yeah.
Also, the letter of support, I don't think that will be a problem at all.
Yeah.
I can't see why we would not be doing that to help you get where you need to be. I've enjoyed the business after business. It's nice to see that coming back. I've kind of missed the last one, but I do enjoy. Yeah. I do enjoy them, and intend to send a few more. Council, any questions, Council? Anyway. Councilor Petrosi.
Hi, Margaret. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks.
Did you want to explain the MVIT involvement? We talked a little bit about the students, keeping them in town, hopefully, after they graduate. And
yeah, so prior to, being chair for the chamber, I was the co-op coordinator for MVIT. And so how the chamber and MVIT began that partnership was I was the co-op coordinator, and I saw a need for MVIT to really connect more with the businesses in town. And so we applied for a grant together with the Business and Higher Education Roundtable. And it was, a COVID incentive, obviously, during that time. And but they really saw value in trying to connect students with local business. And so using that funding and all of the outreach that we did, between MVIT and the businesses in town and all the surrounding bands, we connected, I think it was 58 students in the year, to quality work placements that were funded, fully funded, with 38 different businesses in town. So it was, and if you want numbers on that, every time a student was hired, it was, the business was getting $7,500 to $10,000 to fund that student. So that was a heck of a lot of money into our town and into our businesses during a pretty tough time.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Newman?
Thank you. I was just curious if you see that there's a need to increase your relationship with the Economic Development Department within the city as well. We have a host of knowledge here in-house, so I'm just curious if there's something that we might be able to help with that as well.
Absolutely. Like, I really see the connection and the tie there with the city as well. And quite frankly, Marilyn and her predecessors were very involved in Chamber. And she comes to our meetings, we're very connected. And that's how, it's one of our mechanisms for relaying information back and forth. Like, what are the needs? What are businesses saying that they need? What can we do for economic development that is going to help this city prosper and kind of come out of its doldrums? Not quite sure of the word, but we really need more positivity in our town. And I think that through economic development in the form of things that we can do, which is, taking control and being able to put on different events and things like that to really kind of drive and uplift our community, I think would make a big difference. So yes, I see us as being very connected.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Charney?
I find that program with the NVIT and the businesses excellent.
Yeah.
So you say that the businesses get a grant. Mm-hmm. Is that for a 1-year program? Or what happens when that funding drops off? Mm-hmm. What happens with the student?
Yeah, well, it was every 4 months. So a business could hire a student, and they could hire that student multiple times every 4 months for a year, and every 4 months get $7,500 to $10,000 for that student, depending on what grant they were under. And so it is for the students to get experience. So it's called work integrated learning. And with the business has a big incentive to get that student and to hire that student and hopefully retain them after. They could do, if it worked out, they could do up to a year of practicum, basically, with paid practicum, and then hopefully they would get hired on. And most of our students did get hired on.
Oh,
yeah.
Excellent.
So it was, and continues to be a very good program. There's a new coordinator doing things now up at NVIT because I retired in August. And so it takes a little while to get things going. But really what our thing is that we had too few students. So we actually had to branch out and find students from Okanagan College, from TRU, to fill needed spots with our businesses because NVIT just didn't have enough students to fill the need.
Okay, thank you. Sounds excellent.
Councillor Rogan?
Okay, my first question is for staff. I want to know if there was any intention at any time to apply for this funding.
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Councillor Hogan. We did have a discussion. It actually came up at the last chamber meeting, and it was in part staff saying, hey, it might actually make sense for the chamber to make this application instead of the city this go around. And that really has to do with what city economic development can do versus what chamber economic development can do. And I think having the 1-2 punch we need somebody really out there representing the businesses, between outreach, setting up activities and events, and liaising with the city economic development department. We think that might be more valuable than just having 2 people in the city economic development department. So that decision was made in conjunction with a discussion at the city staff level where we had said, yeah, we actually think it's a good idea for the chamber to be making this application. We recommend that you go talk to council about that, because if council gives their blessing, we think that it's a slam dunk. And so we were not intending to apply for this grant unless council said that they don't want to support the chamber, and then we would be the backup and apply for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So now I am very aware of the services provided by the Chamber of Commerce. So I think that you're doing a great job. So at some point I was a director a few years back. Yeah. I have seen the Chamber going through good and hard times. So I'm glad that the membership is going up. So just for a reference, in good times for the Chamber of Commerce, the membership was around 118 members. So now it's coming up. So it's 75. So that's great to hear. And I do recognize all what the Chamber does, believe me. So I would like to see other initiatives like the Summer's Night Market that you guys are doing. That's a great impact for our local economy, as well as the business walks. So I know that at some point Community Features and all at other points it was the city of Merritt, but that's something that we need to understand what is needed with our local community. So the question for you, Margaret, is about this grant. So this grant is focused on the community or business recovery or combination of both. So I want to understand, if successful, what is your vision to deliver this in our community?
Yeah, so the vision is to put together, to hire somebody, first off, and to have them actually focus on delivering these events. So I put 4 things down on the grant application for items that we think would carry us through a year. And they were done in consultation with Marilyn. And we kept in mind the focus of your economic development plan. And so street markets, definitely, for the summertime, and we wanted to try and increase the events going with that. We really wanted to make it so that we're not just so dependent on the farmers market portion, so that it's more lively with the chamber side of things, with the businesses, and get more families involved. So maybe a bouncy castle and live music, different things like that, right? So we really wanted to up the ante on the street markets. And then in the fall, we thought it was, super important to have, something sort of at every time of year. So, to be more involved with things, and the fall, the golf tournament, we thought would be they used to do that before, and it can also be a moneymaker, I believe, for a chamber to do a golf tournament. So we were really hoping if we hired somebody and they just dedicate their energies to making that event a success, that it will be, right? It's really, really difficult to do things like that off the side of your desk, and most chamber members have businesses to run, and so you really have to have a staff person taking care of that. So the golf tournament in the fall, and then we have been approached by the Country Christmas organization, and they want us to do more, like a Midnight Madness, and kind of get back to the way the Christmas parade and Country Christmas used to be. So, and part of that was getting more businesses involved, right? So we're, but again, we need somebody to dedicate themselves to actually pulling that off and connecting with our businesses and making sure that that event happens. And then we thought that a really great spring event that we could make regional, if we have the money and the staff to do it, is a trade show. So really utilize all of our city buildings and bring in. You can, at that point of time, you can bring in car dealerships, RV, different tourism-related businesses, and really kind of make it a big event for our region, right? So that is, fingers crossed, but you've got to have the people, right, to dedicate to actually to work on that. I understand Tony. No, was it Tony? I don't know. You had a contractor with Tony Palin, was it, or something? Yeah. So, he might be interested in helping us with that. That is something that is right down his alley. So if we were lucky to get the grant and everything like that, then we might have a line on actually somebody who could pull it off and do it. Because as you know, it's pretty tough to get people with the expertise to do these things.
Councilor Richard.
Thanks for the information, Margaret.
Yeah.
I was just wondering where you had your Spring into Business Adventure Trade Expo there. If you apply for this grant, with the reporting, or would there be reporting, and do you have to make sure that you spend the money by a certain time if you don't do the Spring Expo? Like, is there enough detail on that?
Yeah, I don't know what the terms of the contract will be, but in general, you have to, if you make changes to what you've said you're going to do in a grant, you have to run those by the people offering up the grant to see if the changes are okay, right? So if there's always a possibility that you can make changes to things.
Yeah.
But you have to run it by the grant holder.
I know a few years ago we had something like that happen in town, because I remember some of the dealerships were up the hill having some kind of thing like what they used to have at the KXA in Kamloops. And
oh, yeah.
So that could be interesting if you had it themed throughout town. But I just, I'm wondering with a lot of these grants, they have deadlines and spend by and.
Well, the grant is a year to, we can make it 1 year or 18 months. So I'm sure that we could extend if we had to the 18-month, but we put in the application 1 year, basically, June to June.
Spring until June 20th, so.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Councilor Rogan.
Thank you. So I was just wondering about the Loggers Sports Show as well as the Fall Parade. I know that these two events had a good impact in our business community. So if there is any chance to bring specifically the Loggers Sports Show that we had, through the Chamber of Commerce a few years ago.
The Loggers Sports Show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. And what else?
And that was the Fall Parade that you used to have, by the end of August, September. So that was a great event,
Okay, you know what? I don't know. Maybe we can throw a few extra things in there. But you know what? This is great to get some feedback. So we can definitely pass that by and see if we can add in some other events like that. If we're doing something in the fall, anyhow. So yeah, for sure.
Thank you. One other thing I do remember is Chamber of Commerce used to do a thing called Taste of India. Did they not do that? Years ago? That was quite enjoyable. That was actually quite enjoyable. It was a night where everybody dressed up and it was all Indian food, and it was actually really, really well done. So I do remember that.
Yeah.
But for me, Chamber of Commerce is always the bellwether of your community, and they are the people that get your community out there. And so it's very important to have a strong chamber, and I'm glad to see this one is starting to gather some legs. And I'm sure we could probably fill you with a lot more requests on certain things, but just trying to help you out there. So we would be more than happy to be involved, and do appreciate you coming to speak to us tonight.
Great.
And I'll let you have the last word.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for your support. And I'm not sure if we need a resolution, or I will for the grant. But I don't know if that needs to happen
CAO Smith?
Today, or the grant is due April 15th.
The resolution would be coming from the Chamber Board. If you wanted to make a unanimous vote today to provide a letter of support, you can. Alternatively, within the letter of support policy, that can happen through the mayor, and then at the next meeting, we would just have a copy of the letter of support that went out as an information item on the agenda. So you're not required to make a resolution, but if you want to show your ringing endorsement, that's okay as well.
Thank you. Shall we endorse the letter tonight? I'd make the motion that we do. Everybody else seconds. So all those in favor? There you go.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And thank you for giving us some time to update you on our activities. And I hope to see you guys at some of these activities. It'd be great to get you more involved.
Thank you, Margaret.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving on, bylaws, 8.1, zoning amendment bylaw 2347, 2023, Gateway 286. This was read 3 times, 28th of February, 2023. Public hearing was waived. Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure approved it on 23rd of March, 2023, and is presented now for adoption. The recommendation is that Council adopt zoning amendment bylaw number 2347-2023. I need a mover. Oh, Councillor Etchart. Councillor Newman. Any questions or comments on this one? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 8.2, fees and charges amending bylaw number 2349-2023. Recommendation that Council adopt fees and charges amending bylaw number 2349-2023. Councillor Petrosi. Councillor Ogan. Any comments on this one, as it's been before us already? So. All those in favor? Opposed? 8.3, City of Merritt Cemetery Amendment Bylaw 2350-2023. This bylaw was read 3 times on bylaw 2350 was read 3 times on 14th of March 2023 and is presented now for adoption. Recommendation that Council adopt City of Merritt Cemetery Amendment Bylaw number 2350-2023. Councillor Ogan, Councillor Etchart, any questions on this? All those in favor? Opposed? Nobody. New business. No new business. Notices of motion. No notices of motion. Reports from council. Councillor Egan is not here tonight. She has a family issue that she let me know early on, and she has to take care of that issue. So she's not here tonight, and she sends her regards. So thank you very much. I'll be real quick. We met with Jackie. I met with Jackie Taggart and her crew twice this last little bit. One time with the shadow ministers, Mike Lee, Indigenous Affairs Minister, and Mike Bernier, the shadow ministers. And then we met with her kind of like a coffee thing with council. And it's always nice to meet with Jackie. She's always nice to meet with, and she's always got our backs, so it's nice to have her here. I had a phone call with Minister Dix on March 15th. I'd like to say I felt all warm and fuzzy after, but I didn't, but we're getting there. So we are working on certain things on that one. So hopefully, it's just nice to finally speak to him and get some confirmation on certain things that if we have an issue with, he's willing to dive into. So it's always nice to have a minister that is recognizing our problems. So that's it for me. Any other reports? Councillor Charney.
As all council did, we attended a primary budget meeting on the 15th, and that was very interesting and good indication it's going to be a lot of work to do a budget. On the 21st, Jackie Taggart, I went up to the public meeting that was held at the Best Western, and there were a lot of questions asked of her. She did an excellent job in answering them. I just took down some notes that she mentioned that I thought were kind of interesting. $32 million has been spent on Lytton so far, and all they have to show for it is a $2 million fence around the empty town. No shovels in the ground as of yet. Bill 36, apparently it was not properly discussed. They had a lot more to discuss and they ran out of time. So they were very upset that it wasn't really thoroughly debated. The deficit has doubled in 6 years. That's kind of alarming. April 29th, Eleanor Sturko will be coming to Merritt, and she is going to be discussing addictions. I've contacted Lori at Jackie's office, and time and place is not being confirmed yet, but it will be April 29th. There was a lot of talk about the decriminalization, and I think as everyone else agrees that the decriminalization should only be part of the program. And it was interesting for me to hear that. So if someone is in the hospital for an overdose, when they leave, the RCMP are obligated to give them their drugs back. So I thought, wow, well, that's kind of interesting. And then there was a talk about low-income housing versus affordable housing, and a lot on the overall provincial health care plan, that there isn't really a plan for overall health. So those were just some of the highlights. I went and visited the sewer plant. There was a discussion on some dogs that were found deceased there, and I was really quite alarmed to see that 3/4 or maybe half of it is wide open to the public. You can walk right into there, and any animal, dogs, deers, cats, raccoons, whatever, can walk right into that area. And if they happen to go into the, let's get this one right, there's the settling pond, and then there's the other pond. Oh, I knew it.
Other pond will do.
Yeah, the other pond. It's the main one it comes into. I think she was the settling pond. Oh, and those are settling basins are the other ones that are cleaner. So the settling pond has plastic that goes up. So if an animal does go into that pond, very unlikely that they can get themselves out of that pond because they would be struggling against that wet plastic. So apparently there is a fence coming and it will be put up shortly. So I hope it comes sooner than later. And I went on a great bike ride with the mayor. It was an excellent bike ride. We had a lot of talk and solved the problems of the world. And I hope those continue. And so that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Etchart.
Well, rather than... I think a lot of the information's already been said by the two of you, but rather than going to the AGM, I went to the ESS meeting where I think a few of us were, so that was very interesting to see what's happening there. And in April, they're going to be having a simulation of an event, which should be interesting. And also I met with Jackie, which was already mentioned. I think we were all there. And also April 1st, there's a newcomers event at the library that's welcoming new members to Merritt. So we've all been invited as council, and it's welcome to the public as well. And went to the last Centennials game. Didn't have the positive result that we hoped for, but it was nice to see a lot of community members there supporting our local team. I think the arena was pretty full because the parking lot sure was. So it's always nice to see people getting out to watch the hockey and support for our community. And that's all I have.
Councillor Hogan.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I attended the Kamloops Immigrant Services Open House, so it was very well attended. I learned more about those services, and I feel like there is a great opportunity to create that a strategic partnership with them to enhance the services of our immigrants as well as newcomers in our region. That's it.
Yeah, that was very important. Councillor Charney, can I get you to kill your button there?
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Newman.
Just a first off question to Councillor Etchart in regards to the ESS simulation event. Is there any further details on that?
Just that they need people to be volunteers, I think, for having like situations.
Right.
So it could be fun.
Okay.
I think it's April the 13th. Don't quote me, but well.
Do you go out to have your house or?
No, I do not.
No. Don't say the F word. No. They just need some people to help have a mock event so that they can practice that for people with their training. But no needing to call the fire department for real. So I hope not anyway.
Thank you. And then just a quick report. Thursday the 16th, I attended the Country Christmas meeting, which was quick and to the point. We were missing a few members that evening, but planning is well underway. And this year looks like it's going to be just as much fun as last year.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? No one else. Information items. I got a couple. BC Farmers Market. At the very bottom, it says our request to you, and it says, if we agree with the BC Farmers Market Nutrition Coupon Program is a valuable program, we kindly ask you send a thank you letter to Minister Adrian Dix for our encouragement. So I probably should do that because I've been, we should do that. So I will make sure that letter gets off and gets.
A letter to the minister, I would think we would do.
Yeah, okay, sure, let's do that.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
A letter of support.
Letter of support to Adrian Dix, yeah, we'll do that. And so Councillor Newman, Councillor Ogun, any other questions on that? All those in favor? The other one that I had was on the Nicola Valley Healing Alliance. The 4th paragraph in where they're talking about that we're at risk of, they understand that we have some issues with this, we're staff short, that we could possibly be missing some out on provincial and federal funding opportunities to support. Are we going to be looking at that at all, CEO Smith?
Thank you, Your Worship. I can confirm that in our discussions through Interior Health, the Healthy Communities side of that, we understand that there is some funding that is earmarked for Merritt, but we will need some matching through the budget process in order to secure funding for that. So you will be seeing on the operational side a recommendation that we add a position within the City of Merritt for this, and we've got it as partial funding to come from provincial sources and partial to come from municipal coffers. So you would see that and make a budget determination at that point. So that's how we've got it structured for now.
Councillor Newman.
Question of staff. So when I was going to bring that letter up as well. So is it my understanding that they're looking to offer to assist the city with our shortcomings, and we are going to in turn apply to get funding to hire another position instead of going that route?
No, what they want us to do, so when you look at what their offer is, however, current staffing resources and composition, we understand that the City of Merritt may not be able to take on this additional work at this time. They really want the city to do more to drive, particularly on the social wellness side and those elements of the housing needs assessment that relate to that. So what they're saying is, hey, we've got some horsepower that we will be able to do here. We need to have the City of Merritt be the driver of these because ultimately they're City of Merritt initiatives. And as it stands right now, we don't really have the capacity to be driving that in the way that they would anticipate. And so it's really more of a social planning role, which anybody who was here, we had a social planning committee, I wanted to say it wrapped up in 2018. But yeah, their ask, as far as I understand it, is that they want this to be a city role and that there's funding for the city for that. So
so follow up to that then, is this not an opportunity to invite them, and I'm not sure under the committee structure right now that we're currently forming, that we could, and I'm not sure that having grant funding, hire another person to do additional work to gear that, is this not something that we could maybe work with them internally first and see if we can get somewhere prior to having to hire somebody, and if we don't get the funding, then we're no further ahead, right? So I'm curious if there's other avenues to get moving on this.
I never want to say that there aren't other avenues. If they are willing to take the lead, and this is City of Merritt kind of advice, guidance, then I think there probably would be an opportunity. I think the question is where the horsepower is coming from to actually drive any given initiative. And my understanding is that they're hoping and wanting that to be the city. And I can say that within the structure that we have right now, we would be really hard pressed to identify where that capacity exists over and above what we have. I don't think it would necessarily be right to put it onto, we'll say, bylaw because of what their kind of mandate is. Not to mention there's a bit of stigma attached to that. Within the planning side, we've got two planners, and I'm very cognizant of Council's economic development initiatives. And quite frankly, I think that we're already further behind on that than we want to be. I need to be hitting more acceleration on that side, not less. And so just organizationally, in order to meet these objectives, if this is a direction that Council wants to see further thrust towards, I think it would have to be through additional resourcing, because it's something that's not being driven at the level where either these parties are expecting it or to meet the objectives within that plan.
I just want clarification. Housing is a provincial mandate, not a municipal mandate?
It's pretty blurry, but I think there's a good argument for that. There's lots of areas where a municipality touches housing. Historically, it was almost just about land use. We'll tell you what you can and can't do and where, and then private is going to come in and deal with that. I can confirm that we actually had an email just this week where the province is saying, hey, we want to see every municipality submit every parcel of land that they currently have available to discuss joint housing projects with BC Housing. And so there's more and more of an expectation that cities are going to be involved with the provision of housing, particularly when it comes to supportive housing in the community for those most marginalized members of the community. So yes, housing is by and large a provincial mandate, but in circumstances where we are all experiencing something of a street level crisis, where there's more people, and I think that I can safely say that without having the firm statistics from the most recent count to back it, but there's more people who are experiencing homelessness in our community now than there was 2 years ago, and there's more 2 years ago than there were the 2 years before that. And so in that circumstance, it's kind of easy to say it's somebody else's responsibility, but we're the ones that end up dealing with some of the negative externalities that come from that. And so municipalities are finding a way to get pulled in across the province.
Is there funding from the provincial government to help with this, or are they downloading that on the municipalities also?
It's a good question. You guys are asking really good questions on this one. So we had a little bit of a discussion not too long ago about the Housing Supply Act, which is the mechanism by which the province can require municipalities to hit certain housing targets, particularly for particular populations. There has not been a discussion yet as to what implementation of that program is going to look like, but there may be funding that is made available. There's been some talk of it, but no specifics on what those programs would look like. That being said, I suspect that those communities that demonstrate a willingness to work with BC Housing are most likely to get whatever funding is available. It's just going to happen on the terms that are set out by BC Housing. So
there was an interesting comment on the news tonight, violence against women on the streets, their tents. And Global News paneled a lot of the women. 50% of them said that they would not go into housing if it was provided for them, that they would stay on the streets. So just an interesting fact there. So thank you for your information.
Councillor Hogan.
Question to staff. So I want to know how much do we know about the UBCM poverty reduction grant to see if I want to make sure that we are not missing any opportunity here.
So we applied for the UBCM Poverty Reduction Grant in order to create our official community plan. So the poverty reduction lens that fell within our OCP was generated because of that grant. So I can safely say that there's a level of awareness for how we do that, and that might become part of the funding equation that we just talked about here for funding the position. My understanding, and this is where I need to go back and confirm with the grant, is that it doesn't actually fund staff. So the IH one that we were talking about can fund staff, whereas the poverty reduction grant through UBCM can fund initiatives that those staff are working on, and it might be a bit of a partnership of funding in order to get to the spot where you'd have a full-scale program. So I'm not an expert on the terms of that grant right now, but that's my understanding. So.
Yeah, I was just wondering because it seems that other municipalities have done it. So, and if they have done it to be able to hire somebody for social or community development roles, that's something that we don't want to miss. So I feel like we need more information, so either from, from staff to look into the grant or to have a presentation from this group.
Yeah, I can confirm that our staff has had discussion with these group. I was actually a bit surprised to see the letter because they knew that our plan was to advance this to council during budget. But I think, if I had to guess, this is strategic priming so that when you see it at budget time, you're going to say, hey, this is something that we need. Because we'd actually worked with them around, hey, this is the plan that we're advanced. We also think that it might make sense to add this body. Here's how we could fund it. let's bring it forward to council for their decision at budget time. The only issue is we couldn't get to the spot. As I understand this, and I'll allow Lacey to speak to it because she's the one that will be making that budget request, so you'll have the opportunity to canvass her more thoroughly about this on April 6th. But my understanding is we weren't able to find a way to get it 100% funded. We could get a pretty good chunk of the role funded, but it wasn't quite 100%. So that's why you guys will have something of a decision to make.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions on that? The other thing that we have there is the provincial letter from the province of BC awarding the Growing Communities Fund grant to the City of Merritt. Resolution tracker, which is enjoyable. Thank you very much, and enjoy getting that. 12.5, CAO report. CAO Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. This one will be a heck of a lot more brief than the last, and then you'll have a written one the next time around where the intent is it'll be there for you to consume and you can ask questions, but there won't be so much of an update with it. So first off, I want to again address questions that I've heard, some from you, some from members of the public in relation to Vote Street. Now that it's getting nice out, the question is, when is this going to be paved? Why aren't we here? We have reached out to all of the local asphalt plants. They haven't quite started up operations yet. We understand that they're probably 2 weeks away from starting up asphalt. There are some in the Lower Mainland that have operated, but as I understand, asphalt doesn't travel that long very well. So we are at the mercy of when the first one opens up. When it does, I promise you there is a project to have that component of Vote Street paved. So we are still on the ticking clock until the first asphalt plant in the region opens up. With that, I can say, there's a lot of things I can't say. There's some exciting grant news. There's been lots of grant news, but we're kind of under a close for a bunch of them. But I can say that we were not successful in the larger Vote Street grant. That does not mean that there's not going to be a Vote Street project advanced to council for this budget period. It does mean that we're likely going to need to modify what that project looks like. So I will say that you will have a project for consideration with a diverse range of budget sources for this upcoming year that would at the very least go to the Grimmett intersection where the problem is the worst, but there's a few different models and permutations we're looking at costing out right now, and that you will have before you at the capital session during the budget process. So there's a whole lot of other grants, like I say, where the news has been better, but I just have to share the one piece of news that where we were unsuccessful. With that, I want to provide a bit of an update in the finance search. The last time around, there was a question as to who our grant coordinator was. We had our first meeting with our grant coordinator, which is becoming particularly important because there's a whole lot of grants we're needing to coordinate here. Danny Stancer is her name. And she's eager and excited to get moving. We've talked about the range of expectations on how to coordinate grants, present them, and ultimately set this up so that we do have, as council requested, a grant report for what we've applied for, what's still outstanding, what we've been denied for, where we're at on reporting for each one of the grants. So that will be coming your way in time. We've also had 2 interviews recently for the Director of Finance position. There's hope, no offers yet, but there's hope, and we're continuing on with that process. For the last item from myself is in the request that the city has made for 2 additional provincial police officers to support the provincial area. After the RCMP, we understand that they have advanced what they call an out-of-process resource request for those 2 additional officers that has gone through and been approved at the district level, and I think it's with headquarters now. I can confirm that last week we had a discussion with the Deputy Minister and others as well around how we can ensure that we are going to have good success with that particular request. And they also wanted to discuss our position on a few of the other policy questions around our experience with the change in BC Highway Patrol mandate, or speaking more clearly, maybe not a change in mandate, but the strict enforcement of that mandate, which has existed for some time, as well as how our CMP officers are allocated. So despite the fact we're really just asking for 2 people, I think because of all the research we did, they're wanting to kind of canvass us on broader policy questions that they're taking back to the RCMP. So got a meeting with one of their consultants tomorrow, as well as a follow-up meeting with the ministry later this week. So with that, I will save the rest of the operational updates until April 11th, where hopefully there's a lot more information that we can share.
Thank you, CEO Smith. Just want to, when you were talking about the RCMP situation, I don't know if council has seen it or not, but I do have it available if you'd like to see it. But the argument that was made and the numbers that were researched, and it was a slam dunk. There was absolutely no way that they couldn't see what the problem was, and it was printed out for them. And I do believe with that amount of research and work and the way it was presented is by staff was what will get us where we need to be, because the numbers are, you cannot argue with them. They're right in front of you. And I think it kind of caught the minister a little flat-footed when he saw that, because there's absolutely no way that any of that could be refuted. It was a job well done, so I'd like to thank everybody that was involved in that, and it was a job well done, so I do appreciate it. And thank you for the report, CEO Smith, thank you. With that, we will move to number 13, closed session. Recommendation that the meeting be closed to the press and public under Section 91A of the Community Charter. Personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality. Do I have a motion? Second. Councillor Newman, Councillor Hogan. All those in favor? Opposed? So, yeah. So let's take 5 minutes if anybody needs to go to the washroom or anything, and then we'll get right back into this if we can. Thank you.